Last fire, with winds expected to pick up through tomorrow.
Now's the time for our firefighters to
Doctors say people with pre-existing heart and lung disease are the ones who are most at risk. They're recommending
The line of San Francisco looking more like an image from Mars. The orange glow from wildfires burning miles away, shrouding the city's landmarks, the smoke blocking out the sun. The middle of the
It's a comfort.
But on a day where one tragedy is being remembered in the midst of another, there were changes. Mask required, hand sanitizer stations.
Mostly, everything's gone. All the evidence in the houses are gone.
houses are burnt to the ground. There's no a little bit burnt, it's burnt to the ground.
What are you going to do now? What's next?
So many people are facing devastation this morning
as 36 wildfires burn across the state. A live stream from the city of Medford overnight showing flames burning multiple structures.
The west side of Diamond off King.
This morning, a devastating chapter in the U.S. fight against COVID-19. The virus death toll climbing above 200,000 Americans. This week, the
American lives lost to the virus. The Washington National Cathedral marking the solemn occasion by tolling its bell.
Who have lost loved ones to the coronavirus. The House of Representatives held a moment of silence yesterday to acknowledge that painful milestone. More than 200,000 people in the U.S. who have died from COVID.
Rise from a humble Brooklyn neighborhood to the nation's highest court was a classic American story.
What is the difference between a bookkeeper in New York's Garment District and a Supreme Court justice? Just one generation, my mother's life and mine bear witness. Where else?
The second woman on the nation's highest court and a pioneer of women's rights and gender equality. We learned she died surrounded by family in Washington, D.C.
Ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks.
Barely 5 feet tall, but
after another night of unrest, tonight one of the two officers shot in Louisville is out of the hospital. The other is recovering from surgery. A suspect is under arrest. This gunfire captured in a police endangerment for shooting recklessly. The bullets ending up in a neighboring apartment. He's out on bail, and his lawyer says he intends to plead not guilty. Two other officers were not charged. The Attorney General is saying their actions were justified. A critical dispute.
Unrest started in Louisville, Kentucky Wednesday after a grand jury decided not to directly charge police officers in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. 2 police officers were shot Wednesday but are expected to be okay. Protesters also gathered outside the Justice Center in Portland Wednesday night, at first peacefully chanting in the rain. Several speakers talked about discrimination they've faced and expressed outrage over the lack of charges against the officers in Louisville. Police tweeted around
nationwide after that grand jury decision to decline charging those 3 officers in the fatal shooting, 26-year-old EMT Breonna Taylor in her own home.
Sparking protests in Seattle as well, one at Westlake Center and a second at Cal Anderson Park on Capitol Hill. That's where Callie Greenberg is this morning, and Cali police declared that protest on Capitol Hill an unlawful assembly. What happened there?
Right. They told protesters just after midnight that they needed to leave immediately or face arrest.
Questions about the future, because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last,
agrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
everybody
you can't,
knows.
or Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the scientists.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
She said the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well,
I got it done, and you know what happened?
You got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is
Mr. President, let me finish. Mr. President, let me.
For the past fortnight, the bombing has been almost relentless. At last,
flag out of the way in freshly conquered territory in Nagorno-Karabakh and hoists the flag of Azerbaijan. In the capital, especially in mountainous terrain.
Now, Armenia and Azerbaijan are fighting a large-scale war along the borders of the disputed region. Now,